in my second business is that we didn't have a marketing problem because I had spent a whole bunch of money on a marketing company that just basically wasted 50K. And what they didn't understand is that they were just throwing noodles at the wall and none of them were sticking because we didn't have a marketing problem. We had a brand messaging problem. People didn't clearly understood what I did, why I did it, who I did it for, all the different things. And so I fired that company and I started really diving into the idea of like, what does my messaging look like? And so my story is an iterative story, lots of lessons, lots of failures that I have developed over the years of now. I'm on my fifth business now. And so I've taken everything that I learned in the process and I started utilizing that and helping other small businesses about 4 years ago. And that morphed into a different version, which is now really centered around sort of more coaching, more consultancy than, and that's kind of where the direction of the company is now. So all centering around telling your story properly.
That's cool. So where did your love of branding and storytelling kind of originate? Is there a genesis of that from somewhere?
Yeah, that's a cool story. Well, I'm one of 12 kids. So
Wow.
I've always had a very active imagination because we didn't have a lot of money. And so we're always just sort of forced to kind of like find entertainment on our own. And my brothers make fun of me because, they'd often find me sitting in the backyard. Or this might be a little weird, but I was always just sort of like playing with myself and my Tonka toys and I would make sticks and things like this. And I was always into sort of drawing and painting. So I always had this creative side. It's just, that was my gift from God, I guess. But I've also always loved building things. So business sort of kind of fell in line with that naturally. I got my first job out of college and one of the projects or one of the jobs I was working on was project management. I headed up our project management division. And in that process, I had the opportunity to really build things from the ground up. And so I got the pragmatic side, the right and left brain side. But I also realized that I was missing the creativity side. And so I started looking for projects within the company where I could mix both. And one of the things one of the pathways that led me down to was marketing and branding. At the time, my company didn't know what branding was. So it was sort of an exploratory version for me. And then I just fell in love. It was just kind of like, it was the best of both worlds for me. I got to have my pragmatic, my left brain, right brain, and I got to bring them all together and build something and still be creative with it. So long story short, I launched a photography studio in 2010. I still own that company. It's a multi-six-figure business. And so I got to kind of now take from my creative side, which does photo and video, and then I mix that into my branding business now, where I work with clients on creating their own content and being able to tell their story.
So with that storytelling side of things, what are some things the listeners can take away, some things they can do right now to help them improve their storytelling ability?
Well, there's a lot of tactical things you can do, but I think the first step you should probably be making is understanding who you are and what it is that you bring to the table as an entrepreneur, as a podcaster, as a business owner, whatever it is that you're trying to sell or get someone else to bite into. I mean, that's the whole point. We're in a marketplace. We're trying to sell something. We're trying to deliver a solution. Being very clear on what that looks like, what that smells like, what that tastes like, and then understanding what your audience wants to consume in that space and being able to deliver that message to them so that you're solving their problem or entertaining them or educating them, whatever it is. And that's going to be different for everybody because everybody wants something differently, but really honing in on your zone of genius and developing that and matriculating that so that your audience who also likes that level of zone of genius can consume that. So where I would start.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's that intersection between what they're looking for, what they like, and what you can deliver in an authentic way that connects in that space.
Think about yourself. Here's a really fast track way for anybody listening who's kind of wanting a little bit more on that. Think about yourself as a consumer, and this is different again for everybody. But think of yourself as a consumer. What restaurants do you love to go to, and why? What products do you consume, and why? What healthcare beauty products do you use, and why? And what do they do for you, right? And all of those products or ingredients or entertainment or movies that you watch, or you said at the outset of the show, you love Westerns. There's something about Westerns that kind of latch onto you emotionally and draw you in, right? Whether it's the director, whether it's the aesthetic, whether it's the way the video is edited, whatever it is, right? There's something that draws you in. So when you are selling a service to somebody who you want to buy, you have to think about what it is that they're looking for. Think of yourself as a consumer and why you buy. I myself would rather go back to a restaurant that experientially really treats me. Every time I come in, they maybe remember my name or they know where I like to sit, or maybe the bartender remembers the drink or the type of whiskey that I like. Like you sit down and you're sort of like, wow, they remember that I like Maker's Mark, or they like, whatever it is. And I was like, that's kind of cool. You just start to feel this bond, this connection with people. And so if you can put yourself in that position, you're gonna fast track that emotional connectivity.
It's amazing when you said that. It reminded me of a restaurant locally that we go to, and I've been going to it since I first met my now wife, but then my then girlfriend. Used to go there and they make this one dish. I had it the first time I went there, and ever since I've gone there, and I like trying new things, but it's so good that every time I go there, I have this dish, and it hasn't changed in 10, 15 years. It tastes the same. It's exactly the same. I expect that experience. This experience delivers. It tastes amazing. The place is great. It's just, I find it unbelievable they can manage to keep that level of consistency. It's just amazing, but it keeps me coming back.
And that's that. And what's keeping you coming back is that emotional connectivity, right? It's sort of like your tastes, your taste buds, the visuals around it, the fact that they create the same dish for you, whatever it is, you're creating subconsciously, neurologically, this bond between you, the dish, and the restaurant. And the first time someone is going to ask you, "Hey, Chris, you have any place that recommends whatever? Let's just say it's pasta. Hey, Chris, you know anybody who makes amazing pasta and meatballs?" And you're gonna be like, "Yeah, dude, there's only one place I would send you to. It's this place, right?"
Yeah.
And so that's how you build that whole idea around raving fans. You connect with them emotionally. You solve their problems, and you be consistent about it. You show up regularly, and they become your ambassadors. They become your disciples, and that's how you sort of build that concept around a raving fan.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of, I think consistency is big in that, and that, like it's delivering the same experience, the comfort, and it's a comfort in that as well. It's a knowing that you're just going to get the same experience. I think that's a really big thing that is crucial to that interaction with that restaurant, but to brands in general, is that consistency and that comfort that you grow to know and love. And if it changes, like the whole instance of New Coke and the issue with New Coke changing the flavor and then kind of it not being quite right. But yeah, cool. So I was going to say to you, we talked about in the beginning about an intersection of personal and professional branding. And I just wonder what your thoughts were on that, where they intersect, how they fit together.
Before I answer that, can I jump back to that Coke reference for a second?
Of course you can. Yeah.
Because I want to clarify, that doesn't mean that you experiment. It doesn't mean that you don't try to be innovative. That doesn't mean that you don't explore new ways to push the bubble or new ways to provide better service. But you have to have your finger on the pulse, because in the case of Coke, they reverted back, or they didn't revert back. And that in the case of a Coca-Cola, that's billions of dollars lost or billions of dollars saved. And so if you are going to make tweaks, it's really important that you are making tweaks not just for the sake of making tweaks, but you're making tweaks because you see a gap that you're trying to fill, and your audience is requesting it, or maybe your audience hasn't requested it. But when you do introduce this new gap that you think you're solving, make sure you're understanding how or why, or maybe it's not solving the problem that you thought it would, and be able to adapt again or innovate again. So and Coke did that, but if you recall, Pepsi had a similar story. They did not do that. And this was like in the early 90s. I don't know how old you are, but in the early 90s, Pepsi did something similar. And they did not, and they lost billions of dollars off of that marketing campaign. Or even take a look at what's going on today in the world. Some of these companies that are trying to follow this woke agenda because they think that's what they're supposed to do. And this is not a denigration against or for. It's just simply saying, don't just do shit just to do shit because everyone else is telling you to do shit. Like, make sure that you're on board with this. This is in your value alignment, and the changes that you're making or the bandwagon you're jumping on are actually stuff that you can get behind and support and stand that your audience actually wants. Otherwise, you've seen the fallout from that sort of thing.